Most of us who've been into survival and prepping for a while already have the basic gear covered. We've got our go bags packed, our bug out vehicles are ready, and our everyday carry is also dialed in. But what if the gear you've trusted for years can do even more than you thought? The beauty of survival gear isn't just in its primary purpose, it's in how creative you can get when things go sideways. So let's take a look at some unexpected off-label ways you can use your most basic gear when it counts. Paracord. Paracord is one of those items that ends up in just about every prepper's bag. It's strong, compact, and endlessly useful. Most people know you can tie things down, build shelters, or hang food from trees with it, but the lesser-known uses are where paracord really comes in handy. For starters, you can pull out the inner strands, those tiny white cords inside, and use them as fishing line in a pinch. They're also thin enough to work as emergency sutures, although I don't recommend it, if someone has a deep cut. One inner strand even works as emergency dental floss, which might not sound like a big deal until you're dealing with nasty teeth and you've been 2 days in the woods. You can also use it to create a makeshift sling for an injured arm or wrap the handle of a tool or a knife for extra grip and comfort. And here's one most people don't think about. You can use these same inner strands to sew or repair gear. Tear your tarp, rip your pants. That paracord just became your sewing kit. Mylar blankets. Everyone throws Mylar blankets into their bag and figures they'll use it for warmth. But this shiny little rectangle has way more tricks up its sleeve. Because it reflects light and heat so well, it makes an excellent signal if you're trying to get spotted from the air. Just lay it out in a clearing or use it to flash sunlight toward a rescue plane. If you drape it behind a campfire, it'll bounce heat back toward your shelter, keeping you warmer than just the fire alone. You can also turn a Mylar blanket into a solar still if you're trying to purify water, or you can use it to catch rainwater by draping it into a bowl shaped with some rocks. It's lightweight enough to be taped or tied inside a tarp for insulation, keeping your shelter warmer in cold conditions. And if you're desperate, it even works as a waterproof wrap to keep gear or firewood dry. Bandanas. This simple square of cloth is often overlooked because it's one of the most versatile tools you can carry. And I've actually done a video on a lot of the creative uses for bandanas, and I'll link that in the description. Most people know you can wear it to protect your neck or face from dust, but it goes way beyond that. A bandana can act as a pre-filter for dirty water. Just tie it over the mouth of your bottle or your pot to catch big debris before you boil or purify. It can be turned into a tourniquet or used to hold a splint in place if someone injures a limb. You can soak it in water and wear it around your neck to cool off on a hot day, or you can wrap it around your hands if you have to touch hot cookware. It works as a pot holder, a bandage, a signal flag, or even toilet paper if you're truly out of options. And in windy or cold weather, tie it over your face and it helps you breathe easier and stay warmer. Multi-tools. When people think of these, they usually think of knives and screwdrivers. But this little tool can do a lot more if you think outside the box. If you're cooking over a fire and you don't have tongs or a pot hook, the pliers on your multi-tool can safely grab hot pots or lift lids. The file can be used to sharpen a hook or even strike against a ferro rod if your usual striker goes missing. In an emergency, the saw blade can notch wood for a friction fire setup. And if you break a zipper on your bag or your jacket, the multi-tool can help bend or reshape that pull tab to make it work again. Even the can opener can serve as a mini pry tool, or it can scrape gunk off of a gear part. These things are like little mini toolboxes, and most folks only ever use half of what they have to offer. A headlamp. You might think a headlamp is just for hands-free lighting, but there's more to it. A clever trick that not everyone knows is to strap your headlamp to a jug of water or a gallon milk jug. When the light shines through the water, it creates a soft, glowing lantern that lights up your tent or your shelter without blinding anybody. You can also hang it from a branch and use it to signal in an emergency. A lot of models have a blinking or strobe function for this exact reason. Some headlamps have red light modes, which are perfect for night vision. Use this when reading maps at night or checking gear without losing your ability to see in the dark. And in a pinch, if your batteries are dying and you only need a few seconds of light at a time, you can keep it off and just use the power button to flash on briefly, just enough to see what you're doing. Duct tape. Okay, we already know that duct tape is a survival must-have, but let's look into some of the weird ways you can actually use it. You got a blister forming on your heel? A strip of duct tape over the spot keeps it from rubbing raw. Tearing your tarp or your tent? Slap some duct tape and keep going. But there's more. You can fold it over into butterfly bandages to hold small cuts. You can make a rope by twisting several strips together or create makeshift cordage when you're out. You can even make fletching for arrows or darts if you're improvising weapons. And if you need a cup, a bowl, or a water scoop, you can actually fold and tape one together that holds up long enough to do the job. Some people even carry little wallet-sized patches of duct tape wrapped around a card or lighter so they've got it on them at all times. A ferro rod. Okay, everyone knows it'll spark a fire, but have you tried using it to light steel wool? If you're out of tinder but you happen to have a few common household items in your kit or your vehicle, steel wool catches a ferro rod spark quickly and efficiently. You can also use the rod as a striker for alcohol stoves if your lighter dies, or as a signal device by throwing sparks in the dark, which is great for helping someone find your camp. You can even use the back end of it to make shallow notches in wood if you're setting up a friction fire spindle or a trap system and you don't have a knife handy. And of course, don't forget, pairing it with a magnesium block can buy you longer burn times in damp conditions. Trash bags. A heavy-duty black trash bag might not seem like survival gear, but it's one of the smartest things to keep with you. You can turn it into a poncho by cutting a hole for your head. You can use it as a ground cloth to keep your sleeping area dry. You need a flotation device, fill it with air, tie it off, and you've got an emergency buoy. Trash bags also make great improvised water collectors. Tie one around a leafy tree branch and let condensation gather inside. You can even build a solar still with one by digging a hole, adding vegetation, and covering with the bag to collect water from evaporation. And of course, if you're bugging out and it starts to pour, a trash bag will keep your firewood, your clothes, or even your gear dry in a pinch. There's a lot more to survival gear than what's on the label. The key is looking at every item in your kit and asking, what else can this do? Because in a real survival scenario, versatility isn't just nice, it's necessary. When you can get 3 or 4 uses out of one piece of gear, you're not just packing smarter, you're prepping smarter. And that just might be the edge you need when SHTF happens.